Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're looking at Rivian. Rivian CEO says that the R2 will be its Tesla Model 3 moment as a more affordable EVs are needed. Although Rivian and Tesla have different products, they're more alike than you might think. Rivian CEO Ajay Scaringe says its upcoming R2 model will be its version of the Tesla Model 3. It may not look like a Tesla Model 3, but the Rivian R2 will help shape the EV startup future. Like Tesla, Rivian started with more expensive flagship models. Tesla released the Roadster in 2008, which led to the Model S in 2012. Several years later, Tesla announced its first mass-market electric car, the Tesla Model 3. Although Tesla went through what CEO Elon Musk described as production hell, ramping up the Model 3, and the work paid off in the end. In 2018, Tesla Model 3 became the best-selling EV car globally, holding the title until the Model Y topped it in 2020. Tesla Model 3 will be amongst the top-selling electric vehicles globally, gas or electric, in 2023, as it continues to see strong demand. Rivian has been ramping production all year. Despite several rivals cutting EV targets, Rivian raised its production goals following strong Q3 results. The EV maker now aims to build 52,000 vehicles this year. That's more than double their production that they completed last year. Last year they delivered 24,337. So the Rivian R2 will be its Tesla Model 3. Like Tesla, Rivian plans to expand into new markets. The automaker chose Clayco as its partner earlier this month to build its massive $5 billion EV plant in Georgia. The new facility will be home to the R2 vehicles. Scaringe previously said R2 will be starting around $40,000 to $50,000 US. Rivian's R2 will be a mid-size electric SUV, which somewhat reminds me of the Volvo EX30. That is a mid-size SUV, and it's also extremely affordable. I think that vehicle starts around $35,000 or $40,000. So again, it's in a very similar bracket to the Rivian. Recently on the How I Built This podcast, the Rivian CEO spoke about ramping up production and expanding the brand, as well as other plans for the future. When asked if the R2 will be Rivian's version of the Model 3, Scaringe said, and I quote, "Yeah, in terms of strategically, it's very similar." What do they mean? Well, at the time when Tesla unveiled the Model 3, it was their most important car. It was their most ambitious project. That was their long-term goal, was to release an affordable vehicle for the mass market. Rivian plans to do the same, strategically. Rivian views the R2 as more affordable, but it's also extremely roomy, very spacious. It's an SUV, a mid-size SUV, basically a small SUV, like an SUV coupe. But considering that it's a Rivian, I don't think it's going to be that small at all. Not compared to a European SUV size that is considered a small SUV. The Rivian R2 could be, in many people's opinion, a full-size SUV, but to others, it might look small because it's somewhat smaller than the current Rivian SUVs. But only time will tell. But I'm looking forward to what Rivian can do with the R2 and what multiple vehicles they can build on the R2 platform, because the R2 is the platform. They could build multiple vehicles on that platform, not just an SUV, but a mid-size pickup truck as well, just at a more affordable price, which would be ingenious. They have to be careful doing this because they don't want to create their own competitor within their own brand. They still got to give people a reason to buy the R1S and the R1T. The CEO explained that Rivian started with its flagship R1 products that are intentionally priced higher for their features, capabilities, and much more, but also because they are considered to be premium products. So yes, Rivian do charge more, but I like that Rivian charge more. You know, Rivian vehicles, there's nothing that quite looks like it. And that's what you can appreciate from Rivian. They're approaching it in a similar fashion to what Tesla did, but also with a mindset of what Apple does within their ecosystem. Rivian is approaching this market as a premium electric vehicle provider. They're relatively new to the space and they've already got huge immense amount of popularity and general respect in the EV market. Rivian will take the essence of its brand represented in those products and it will build it into more affordable models. In other words, they want to keep Their brand is being premium. It's viewed as premium. They want to keep it in that area. They want people to look at this brand and see it like the Apple version of electric cars or the Tesla version of SUVs and pickup trucks. They want to keep that luxurious characteristic and strategy within their mindset. They want to make vehicles that are somewhat a little bit more affordable, similar to what BMW does. Audi does this. Mercedes does this. They're known for being luxurious brands, sporty brands, expensive brands, premium brands. But at the same time, they do make more affordable vehicles. And even those affordable vehicles are still somewhat pricey or premium. And this is what Rivian is doing. And for an American brand, it is vastly impressive. The Rivian R2 is expected to be unveiled for the first time next year in early 2020. The Rivian R2 is expected to be unveiled for the first time next year in 2024. However, it will be fully launched in 2026. So we're still 2.5 to 3 years away from that. And for 2026, we're probably looking at Q2 or Q3. Construction on the Georgia site will begin soon, with grade work finishing up through the end of the year. An official groundbreaking ceremony is expected in early 2024. This is once the first stage is completed. Rivian expects to be able to build 200,000 EVs per year. By 2030, the EV maker looks to double it. Rivian continues outpacing rival despite the R1T electric trucks and the R1S SUVs costing around $70,000. That's a lot of money for these Rivian SUVs and pickup trucks. So it's quite obvious why they want to bring that price down with new vehicles in a premium segment still. The company also has a major lifeline with its commercial electric vans. The e-commerce giant Amazon announced in 2019 that it would deploy 100,000 Rivian EDVs by 2030. It already deployed over 10,000 of these vehicles. The EV maker recently ended its exclusivity with Amazon, signing its second partnership with AT&T earlier this month. Rivian drivers will also get access to Tesla Supercharger network starting early next year. Rivian will provide an adapter, and eventually it will move to NACS connectors permanently. The EV maker has also taken another page from the Tesla book with its own charging network. Rivian is focusing on reliability and uptime like the EV leaders. Scarin said having several different charging providers can help adoption. It plans to open its own network to other brands such as Tesla. So do not forget that many things make Rivian quite affordable. So keep that in mind. There are many things that plays into the hand of Rivian, making them a very affordable electric vehicle company. And in recent videos, I've actually called this company somewhat fair in price. It's currently $23.54. Market cap is $22.7 billion. Why do I think the price is fair? Why do I think the market cap is fair? Because they're doubling production this year. They're building a second factory. They're unveiling the next platform next year. They're bringing those vehicles to the market in 2 to 3 years. I'll admit, initially when Rivian first came on the scene, the stock anyway, it was incredibly expensive. Quite ridiculous, to be honest. The IPO was crazy. And I did what I thought was best. I waited until the price fell by a lot. I was waiting until the price was like $15 to $10, and then I would consider buying. That's when I started buying around the middle of this year, around June and July. But mostly in June, because I was buying just under $15. And I thought, you know what, for a company that's looking to double their production this year to 50+ thousand vehicles, the $15 were quite reasonable. And also the market cap was under $20 billion as well. The market cap was somewhere similar around there, maybe 16, 15 billion. And I thought, you know what, that made a lot more sense. I thought for the Rivian company, somewhere around 10 billion to 15 billion in market cap was reasonable. And now it's 22.7 billion. That's not too far difference. So why do I still hold this opinion? Well, because the revenues is going up by quite a lot. Q1 this year, they generated 661 million. Q2, 1.1 billion. Q3, 1.34 billion. So what will they generate in this last quarter? Is it going to be 1.4, 1.5 billion? They're looking to generate over 4 billion this year in total in revenue. That's not profit, that's just revenue. But revenue is what they reinvest back into R&D, capital expenditures. It's all being reinvested back into the company, which I'm quite happy with. That's exactly what they should be doing. Focus on building out the infrastructure, the charging stations, and the secondary factories, and bringing the cheaper model to market as soon as possible. So by generating 4 billion per year, what could Rivian achieve in 5 years? Well, it's quite easy. 2 years, that's 8 billion. 4 years, that's 16 billion. 5 years, that's 20 billion. In 5 years, they could eclipse or close to eclipsing their current market cap. Not to mention, they will continue to grow in the next 5 years, which means that in the next 5 years, they'll generate more than 20 billion in revenue easily. It'll be anywhere from 25 to 35 billion, in my opinion, in the next 5 years. So if anything, yes, the market cap right now. So yes, I'd say it's fair price. The only thing I think it's holding its back is obviously when will we be cash flow break even? When will this company be profitable? Will it be in 2030? Because that's a long time for a lot of investors to wait. And will Rivian have the funds to carry them through that period? Thankfully, they sell really expensive vehicles, so they can make up a lot of money based on the margins. They can make a lot of return. And the better they get at producing these vehicles, the cheaper they become to build and the more profit they make on top of these vehicles. Not to mention the Rivian vehicle and its software, the IP is entirely owned by Rivian, so they can ship out updates and upgrades to customers and charge them over-the-air updates or performance boosts to the vehicles. Self-driving features that they could charge at a later time. They're not really focused on self-driving anytime soon, but I'm waiting for them to announce that because it's obvious that that's where the world is going and that's going to be extremely valuable in the near future. And ideally, we'd like to avoid relying on Tesla software because Tesla will probably sell that software to other companies. You want to avoid that because it's not going to be cheap and you can save that money and use it for your own. Your investors are going to want that money. They're not going to want to waste that money. This is a new age. These aren't just electric vehicle companies. They're tech companies. They make software for their own cars. That's extraordinary. But the default software, they've got their own default software, and that is so important. And that's one of the key things I look out for in these companies. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Let me know if you agree with my analysis. Is Rivian at a fair price? Big question, but it's a good question.